Welcome to Keep This in Mind, brought to you by SpectHealth.com. I am David A. Specht. Yesterday was Mother's Day, and had a great time with family. We got together, we ate, we played games, we did the things that most families do. But Mother's Day also it's a reason to pause, to remember maybe those moms that have passed on. And those moms kind of came to mind for me during the day yesterday and even into this morning. I've got several friends and people in my circle whose moms have gone on, mine included. And on days like Mother's Day, we have this sense of maybe regret, maybe longing to have a little bit more time or another day to talk to our moms, to have time with them. And for me, my mom was she was the one that helped me develop emotionally. My dad was the one that was the driver, right? He was the one that taught me the lessons that made me the businessman that I am today, that really taught me a lot about leadership. But my mom was the one who helped me connect emotionally with people. She was the one that I would have the deep talks with. We would drive from Minden, Louisiana to Shreveport, which was a 30-mile drive, but it took 40 minutes back then because of 55 miles an hour on the interstate. And we would have these talks, these deep talks about life, about relationships, things that I really wouldn't talk to my dad about. And I realize how important it is to have both in our lives, both parents. And if you didn't have both parents in your life, that's not saying that one is any better than the other. I'm just talking about how having those people speaking into your life really matters. Having a balance that that we often get a lot from our moms, whether we're willing to admit to it or not. We get a lot of insight. We get a lot of how to treat people. Because as sons, and that's mainly who I'm talking to is sons, we get that foundation of the emotional side of things. That oftentimes our dad, if they were involved, if they were there, were teaching us lessons about vocation. They were teaching us lessons about life as, what to do, what not to do. But it's usually our moms that do have that relationship lesson within them. I remember my mom was often the only one at home because my dad, his work caused him to travel a lot, and he would be gone for days on end, and it would just be me and my mom as an only child. And how those times, she taught me things like cooking so I could fend for myself. She taught me things like how to entertain myself. What classic things of kids always say they're bored. Well, kids with siblings have siblings to play with. I didn't. I made friends, and she taught me how to do that by saying, "Hey, go find that kid in the neighborhood. Go knock on that door." So there's I want to just kind of bring that to today as I'm a parent and a grandparent now, and my wife is a mom, and she's been an amazing mom to my boys. That just super mom. I mean, people are on the outside looking at it going, "How do you do it all?" I mean, when we often ask that question of our moms, right? How do they do it all? And I believe that they are specially gifted and equipped to do such things. So as we move into the day after Mother's Day, as we move into this new week, I want to ask you this question, and I'm asking myself of it as much as I'm asking you. Is what you're doing honoring the lessons that your mom has taught you? Because if not, maybe you need to take a moment and reflect and say, what was mom trying to teach me? As in my personal case, and that's the only one I can talk about, I can't speak for you. I can't say, well, what was your relationship with your mom, or what did your mom teach you, or what are some areas that you may not be living up to mom's standard in? But I can tell you about me. My mom always wanted to be a person who had other people's concerns first. My mom was the type of individual that encouraged me to embrace it, and even if I didn't understand other ways of thinking. She was an avid book reader. She loved reading novels, science fiction. It didn't really matter. Historical fiction. She would consume books, and she said, David, the reason I consume books, not only does it transport me to other places, but it opens my mind to other ideas, other thoughts, other ways of living, other ways of doing. She says, I don't always understand it, and I certainly don't always agree with it, but at least I have opened myself up to it. And so my mom taught me to have a more open mindset. Whether she realized it or not, that is one of the biggest lessons she taught me. My dad was black and white. Boom, boom. My mom, completely different. She's like, well, have you thought about it this way? Have you looked at it from this perspective? Because she had this wealth of information from her life lessons and her experiences that said, you know what? Just because you don't understand or necessarily agree with someone else doesn't mean they don't have value. Everyone has value. And even their perspective has value, even if it's in opposition to what your perspective is. So she taught me that lesson. And as I go through this week and the days to come, I am challenging myself to be more open to the possibility that other people's perspectives are not only valid, they should be honored and they should be respected and maybe even embraced if their perspective is better than mine. Now, let me give you a little caveat, because we do live in this polarized world and this crazy world with no boundaries and everything goes. I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying is people don't have to think like you to have value in your life. In fact, if they don't think like you, maybe, just maybe, they can offer something to you that you never thought possible. And I believe that's what all of our moms want us to do. God bless.